What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about how I've just finished moving my eBay reselling business into a storage unit. Now, this hasn't been a decision or process that I've decided on quickly. However, the whole thing has happened quite quick. There's actually been a bit of a backstory into how I landed into this position, and I want to take you through that today. Really what I want to cover is a couple of different things, just to clarify a few things. So what I will be touching on in this video is how I got here in the first place, needing more storage. And then I want to touch on, building a plan of actually making this happen. And then talking about some of the requirements and then the actual outcome, actually going through the storage unit. And I've also want to address some frequently asked questions as well. So buckle up and come along for the ride, and we're going to dive into it. So how did we get here? Well, I've been reselling for almost 2 years now, basically about 1 year and 10 months. In my first calendar year, I did over $50,000 in revenue, and I profited about less than half of that. And then for my first end-to-end financial year doing the reselling, I did around $69,000 in revenue and less than half of profit of that as well. In doing so, the business has been growing. It is growing, and it's been great. It's been able to get more stock. It's been able to get more sales. It also meant that I've had to have more time required of spending my time in the business. And that has also required more storage space. I've been operating this business from home, and it's been spread across about 3 rooms and also being outside as well. So it's been quite jammed, and it's been a little bit overwhelming in some cases. And there just hasn't been the dedicated spaces to be able to do the photos, to do the sorting, to do the posting and do the picking and packing and all that jazz. It's just got to the point where it was just too much. And I came to some challenges around how am I going to grow quicker if I didn't improve some of the processes, right? If I just kept doing the same things, I was probably only always going to get the same results. So I started asking myself what I thought the answer first was, about, how can I have inventory come to me so I don't have to go out as much and I don't have to source as much. I figured that would give me a lot more time back, and I have the stock coming to me. So I was thinking about maybe some wholesale, some bulk deals, and I did do a little bit of that. And I was actually going to jump the gun on another big deal, actually. I had some ideas in play of, changing up how I was going to operate the business to level up. And yeah, it was so close of actually making that happen, and I was running some numbers and all that jazz, and that will probably be shelved, and I'll work on that a little later. But everything changed because I had an opportunity pop up where I was able to purchase 1,400 books, which wasn't planned, and I was meant to be making more space. Now, I went ahead, did that, got the 1,400 books, and even today I'm still sorting through them, but I've already made all my money back on those. And then it was only about 6 weeks later, thinking, it's not very often that I get these bulk deals. I ended up getting 700 VHS. I did do a whole video on this as well. Now that has also taken up a lot of space. Now by this point, I realized that I can't keep getting these big lots and expect that I've got the space to be able to take them. Of course, I want to have all these new big bulk lots and wholesale deals and things like that, but it just wasn't realistic. So I had to start thinking about what are my options here. And I originally was actually going to be moving into purchasing a gutted old caravan. It was probably a bit small, it was probably only about 2 by 6 meters. And look, it was going to be an outlay of cash, right? About $4,000. And by the time I set it up, I just wasn't really comfortable with how much time I was going to have to spend, how much money I was going to have to spend, and then maybe what I was going to get in terms of bang for buck. So that one I threw it to the side. And then it was about looking at maybe doing the similar, but with a shipping container. Again, the cost and the cash outlay, it just didn't make sense. And also it was a bit of a issue with where I was going to store that on the property. I don't live at my own place. I live at my folks' place. And there was a few other little options that I was thinking about, but I started thinking, if I'm going to be having to outlay cash, I want the business to pay for it. And I don't have necessarily $4,000 of reserves at this point for the business. And, I wasn't willing to invest my own money into a capital injection because I want the business to grow for itself. So after some different ideas and some shuffling and some new things and different layouts at home, I still couldn't get to the point where I was happy. And I actually started assessing, what if I could get a storage unit or get a warehouse? And I had this idea around, maybe I could do comfortable with paying $400 to $500 a month if it meant that it was going to meet all my needs. And we'll talk about that shortly. But then I had to build a plan. And this is the next part of the video where, I had to build a plan to make this happen. So what I did is, being the numbers guy, is I built a plan that would justify me being able to get a new space to pay for itself. And how this looked like was I basically wanted to build a 3-day photo bank or draft bank, and I wanted to also then build a 7-day photo bank. So I've got 7 days ahead. And then what I would naturally start to do is drip feed my routine into a 20-day listing process. At the moment, I've been doing 15. Since October, I've been doing 20 listings per day. Naturally, I assumed I would start to see a revenue increase, that some of the numbers were projecting around 20 to 33% revenue increase after a couple of months. And I figured, then I would be able to afford $400 to $500 in terms of paying out for a storage unit or warehouse or whatever it may be. I started this process. It was going really, really good. By the time I hit a 3-day buffer, I got another opportunity. Someone was getting out of the reselling game and they had a storage unit of their own of media items, DVDs, Blu-rays, VHS. There were some video games in there and a few other things, but also some shelving up for grabs. And they offered it to me first before going out to anyone else. And I took it, and there's a really good quote from Richard Branson where it says, if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you are not sure if you can do it, say yes, then learn how to do it later. Now, obviously I had done a few deals before, so I was comfortable with what I was about to do, but there was about 10,000 items to sort through. I'm estimating over 10,000 items to sort through, and you can see it for yourself. All right, team, so right here is a storage locker that we have purchased, and it's full of lots of goodies. We're going to open it up and we're going to start to go through that today. So yeah, I'm actually feeling a little nervous. Where do we begin, man? So lots of shelving, it's basically just all media. So we're here to just figure out what, when, and how. Yep. Did all this. Wow, jeepers. What have we done? And did I mention that in order to save costs, this media, all these items, everything in that unit had to be out by the end of October. Now, at the time of this video, the final items are yet to be pulled out, and actually I'm going to be working on that in the next 2 days. Now, to cut it short, I had to figure out how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to make this work? And this is essentially how it went. I cherry-picked the storage unit for quick wins and built a 30-day photo bank, which got me ahead, and I'm still using those 30 days at this point in time. While doing so, I also sorted the unit full of media into keeps and no keeps, meaning the stuff that I'm likely to get rid of versus the stuff that I'm probably going to bring back here and finalize sorting. I then had to do a photo shoot of 30 days worth of listings, which is the stuff that I'm still being able to list to spend time doing all this other stuff. They're only low ASP items, but they're still helping things tick over. And then I had to find a way of how am I going to store all this media? So that then comes to the big question, or the next part of this video, which is how? What are the requirements and what was the outcome? So the answer came to, well, I need to get my own space. I need to get my own storage unit. And I figured, well, if I move my existing business into my own storage unit with my own terms and needs and requirements, then I can leverage home for being the new sorting and unlisted space. And I had a bunch of requirements for the storage unit. I did a lot of shopping around. I wanted power. I wanted easy access. I wanted to be able to, do my work there with no concern. And I was looking for a good deal and a great chance to build a long-term partnership. And after 2 weeks of shopping around, a few bumps in the road and some things changing at the last minute, I finally landed at a Storage King unit, which I'm very, very happy with. They're only about 8 weeks old. A 6x3 with power. It's got great access, great security, and there's no issues working on site and really good staff as well. So the day I signed up, I started to move in the next day. Time to move in. Now, you've seen some of this already in my previous video. This is essentially now my new base of operations, my new office, maybe a man cave, but more for work, not pleasure. I'm going to give you another glimpse and give you a quick little update on how that's all progressing. And then I'm going to talk about some frequently asked questions. All right, team, this is day number 1 of testing out the new packaging station. We've got Carla on watch, supervisor. And this is where I'll basically do it, but I've just gone and picked out everything out. All this is what needs to be packed. There's about 55, 58 items here. Don't mind that stuff. That stuff is still being assessed whether it's going to be kept or not. But all this is being prepped, and majority of it, 80% has come from here. The rest of it, some of it is still coming from home as I'm still building this out. But yeah, we're going to test this today and see how we go. We've got all the different satchels in here. So really today is just the test to see what works, what doesn't. Carla's going to be watching from afar and seeing what I do and what works. The Dymo will be up here. I've got the international printer that will be over here. Bubble wrap is yet to be mounted up here, but that's another process yet. So yeah, Carla's keen for me to get working already. All right, team, let's do it. All right, so one of the big questions that I've been having is the cost impact. Let's talk dollars. Now, I'm a numbers guy, so I like to run the numbers. Now, to be frank, this is going to cost me $500 a month, and that's not including insurance. Insurance is actually cheaper in a storage unit, and that's better than at home, so I'm saving probably about $25 to $30 a month. Now, I was originally going to finance this storage unit by taking a loan of $10,000 or $20,000 and basically using interest-only repayments to then cover the difference. Meaning, what I mean by that is interest only was going to suggesting to be about $70 a month, and that would then pay for the $500 per month, and then I would pay it off, you know, as I went down the line as the business was growing, just to give me a better cash flow. I was happy to do this, more than happy to do this. However, due to some timing and some financial factors outside of the business, and trying to do everything with my accountant and all that jazz, the bank said at this point in the time, I need to wait a little bit longer, just because being a sole trader and a few other little conflicts, which, look, it was a big surprise, but I'm okay with it. It just means I have to pivot. So I'm working on a few other ways I'm going to do this. At this point in time, I can actually afford this with the business. It just means that it's going to take a bigger hit to the bottom line or to my profits, meaning less going into my pocket at this point. But ideally, I want to minimize that gap. I want to not have to take a cut too much, but rather keep my owner's pay as consistent as possible for as long as possible, if not getting bigger. So I've got a few other ideas of how I'm going to manage this, but luckily the deal that I got was I got 2 months for the price of one. So I've got about 8 weeks to actually figure this out. It's actually 6 weeks now, being the time of this video. So I can build some cash flow in between and then revisit this in 6 weeks time to see if I can find out a better way to manage the cash flow. And I do have some ideas on this, but once I've landed on it, I can share about it then. Now, the next question that I keep getting is, how far is it? You know, is it close to home? Will I be spending too much time in, you know, driving or, you know, commuting, or what about fuel costs? Yeah, that's all factored into it. So the fuel, that comes out of the business expense anyway, and I'm happy with that. And it's about 12 to 14 minutes in distance. It's actually quicker to do this route with my postage situation. And I'm actually going to be changing the way I do my workflow a little bit in terms of what days I'm working in the business and on the business, and whether I'm there or at home doing this kind of stuff. So that's to answer that question. And then the next question was, is it worth it? Well, I've only been in there literally for one full day actually doing anything. But when it comes down to answering this question, it comes down to the productivity equation. And the great way to work this out is productivity ratios on how to improve a better business outcome, right? So output divided by input equals productivity. So an example of this, and look, this is all on paper and a lot of this is theory as well, but I have tested this a little bit on Monday when I did my first session there. Previously, before being in the storage unit, I was packaging about 20 items and it was taking me about 1.5 hours to do. Look, depending on what the items were, because I sell a lot of different stuff. So it was about 13.3 items per hour. Now, I assumed and I expected that moving into this storage unit, I should be able to increase all processes by about 15 to 20% in terms of efficiency. Now, I've done a test run of just my postage packaging, and I did 55 packages in 2.75 hours. Now, that works out to be 20 per hour, and that actually works out to be a 50% productivity increase. All right, team, my first ever printout session here, and it was pretty big, and this is all the stuff going out over here. Carla's still pulling it out over there, over here, a little bit up here and a little bit up there. So now, of course, I got to continue to try this. There's a few other workflows I need to manage, but early numbers are actually suggesting this could be quite rewarding. But of course, I'll be sharing the numbers as I go, and you can come along for the ride and see that, and we'll soon find out how it's going to be. I'm basically giving in the next 8 weeks to figure out the bumps, the issues, the things that are working, things that aren't, and then to validate that against the, you know, the cost price that I'm paying per month. So there is plenty more to come. For now, I'm in the unit. I'm working in the unit. It's pretty good. Very happy, very pleased actually. I think the more I do it, the more I get excited. There will be some more updates of how this is progressing, and I'll do those in my weekly Monday videos where I share my progress each week. So if you do have questions along the way, please come ask. Don't be shy. Look, I'm trying to be as open as possible about this, and the reality is these things cost money. These things take time. These things require effort and action, right? So I have to spend money in order to make money, to be able to spend more money, to be able to make more money. And you want to make sure you're doing that as quickly as possible and the most efficiently possible, because that enables better opportunity. And you don't want to be sinking opportunity cost, delaying that, because the time delayed means I'm not able to make as much money. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. If you do have any questions, do let me know. Really do appreciate everyone and all the support at this point in time, just from my recent video. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this next journey leads to, and I'm sure it will be onwards and upwards one way or another. So appreciate you. You have a wonderful day. Cheers.